There were heart-wrenching moments at Queen's Park today, and let's just take a moment here to warn you that the details coming up are graphic and disturbing. Two women who suffered abuse as children while in the care of the province shared their stories. CTV's Paul Bliss was there. Paul, what happened here?
Ken, decades ago, these women were wards of the state. They were removed from their homes where they were being abused, put into foster care, and therefore becoming in the care of the province of Ontario. And then they were abused again. So now what's happening is they're launching a class action lawsuit. And according to the lawyers, the number of victims could be in the thousands. Hands shaking and tears in their eyes, these former wards of the Ontario government struggle to tell their stories.
I was the happy child, living with my grandmother, living with my family.
Holly Papasape says she endured years of abuse after the province became her guardian.
I told my children's aid worker and nothing was done. I was labeled a liar, a troublemaker.
She's joined 200 others in a proposed class action suit against the Ontario government, claiming terrible abuse when they were supposed to be out of harm's way.
I was raped, sodomized, sexually assaulted, sexually humiliated in every way, shape, or form.
Tony Gran is another former ward of the Crown. She claims her children's aid worker turned a blind eye to the abuses she suffered as they moved her from home to home. The lawyers putting together this class action lawsuit claim there could be tens of thousands of victims, many of whom are entitled to compensation from the Criminal Injuries Compensation Board.
These were helpless children who were victims of abuse and who suffered even more abuse while under the province's care. And as a result of that abuse and neglect, they were entitled to claim compensation.
The government, as you heard, moved these ladies from home to home, and they only do so upon making an investigation.
No one was ever punished for things that happened to me but me. That's how I felt.
Holly and Tony say they not only want justice for their pain, they want to help others who endured similar abuses. The lawyers say Ontario deprived them of the right to seek compensation, and they now believe that compensation could be worth $110 million. The lawsuit has yet to be certified by the courts. That's it from Queen's Park reporting live. I'm Paul Bliss. Ken, Michelle, we'll send it back to you.
In this action, we allege that the province failed to do three things. Number one, they failed to even inform the children of their rights to claim from the Criminal Injuries Compensation Board and to commence an action. Number two, they failed to preserve and protect the evidence so that these claims could be advanced. And third, they failed to make these claims on behalf of the children, which it is alleged it was their responsibility to do.
No one was ever punished for things that happened to me but me. That's how I felt. I'm here today for my family. What I'd like to see is the homes that children go into. They should be better investigated before you place a child in that home. And if a child is speaking and saying something's happening, listen to that child. A child won't lie about stuff like that.
I have two messages today. My first message is to all the young children, all the adult survivors. Please come forward. Somebody will listen. These people will listen. They're here to help. We need to bring this into the open. My second message is to the government. You took responsibility for us when we were young and we were in dangerous situations, and then you abandoned us. I'm asking that you didn't hear us then, but I'm asking that you hear us now. Please help us.
The province is facing a new lawsuit from people who say the government failed to protect them. The lawsuit has been launched by two former foster children, and we must warn you that some viewers may find parts of this story disturbing. Heather Wright is live at Queen's Park with more. Heather?
Well, Jane, so far nearly 300 people have come forward detailing some sort of abuse they suffered while living in foster care. And the suit says this abuse happened in every part of the province and could still be happening to this day.
I was raped, sodomized, sexually assaulted, sexually humiliated in every way, shape, or form from the ages of 5 to 10, from the first day that I got there to the day that I left.
Toni Gran lived in fear for most of her childhood. She was abused while living in foster care, and along with Holly Papacy, has filed a $110 million class action lawsuit against the provincial government.
They are the legal guardian of these children. There's no one else.
Jonathan Ptak is the co-lead counsel on this case and says the lawsuit centers around victim compensation. He says children living in foster care were never told about the Criminal Injuries Compensation Board, a fund that victims of abuse can apply to for financial compensation. The suit also says the province never told the children in their care they could file personal injury claims against their abusers. Ptak says hundreds, perhaps thousands of children have missed out on the money that could have helped in their recovery.
These claims for criminal injuries compensation from the Criminal Injuries Compensation Board are simply not being made on behalf of these kids, and that information is not being communicated to them. So I don't believe it's a problem of only some CAS offices not complying with orders from above. We believe it's the allegation in this action that the orders aren't coming from above.
The class action includes all children who have been a Crown ward at any time since 1966, the year the province took responsibility for children removed from their parents' custody. Of course, not every foster child is abused, but for those who have had experiences similar to Toni and Holly, the goal of the lawsuit is to help.
The hope is that you get adopted into a home or go into a foster home where you will be loved and cared for. In my case, it turned out to be the complete opposite. I was given to a pedophile. I just want change. I want to know that there's going to be no more kids suffering or having to live through what I did.
Billy Joe Wilson lived in foster care for 2.5 years and says having extra money for therapy would have been a huge help.
And I was badly abused, both sexually, mentally, emotionally, while I was there, and I want to get help for people that are in care now and for people that will be in care in the future.
Now, none of these allegations against the province has been proven in court. We asked the government about this lawsuit today. They said they cannot comment on pending litigation. And in terms of a timeline, this case still needs to be certified as a class action by a judge, a process that could take several months. So in the meantime, Koskie Minsky, the law firm taking a lead on this case, is asking anyone who suffered abuse while living in foster care to come forward. Reporting live at Queen's Park, I'm Heather Wright. I'll send it back to the newsroom.
They say the Ontario government failed to protect the rights of children in its care. So far, one person has been named as the claimant. That's Holly Papacy. Today, another person was added. That's Thunder Bay's Toni Gran. Now, they are looking for former wards of the Crown to get involved. Garth Myers is an associate with Koskie Minsky. It's one of the law firms involved with the case, and we've reached him at his office in Toronto today. Good afternoon, Garth.
Good afternoon, Jason.
And can you tell me what's the basis of this class action lawsuit exactly?
Children like Holly and Toni became under the care of the province of Ontario, and they were called Crown wards. This is a proposed class action that's been filed against the province for systemically failing to protect the legal rights of children under the province's care. This lawsuit includes children who are Crown wards at any time from January 1st, 1966, the date that the province of Ontario voluntarily accepted legal responsibility and guardianship of Crown wards. And the victims are seeking compensation for damages sustained as a result of the Crown's failure to protect the legal rights of Crown wards. So as a result of the abuse and neglect that these Crown wards experienced prior to and while they were Crown wards, they were entitled to apply for compensation from the Criminal Injuries Compensation Board and also to commence proceedings for civil damages. And the government failed these children. They failed to inform them of their legal rights, and they failed to take any steps to protect their legal rights.
What happened to Tony Grant exactly?
Well, Tony was, in the care of her parents as a child, and she was suffering from abuse. Her father hit her with a belt, and she was hospitalized, as a result of which she was taken into the care of the province and became a Crown ward. She was moved around to several foster families, and ultimately she was placed with one foster family where she experienced severe sexual. Again, she was taken away from that family. She ran away and was placed with a further family. The Crown was aware of the abuse she sustained, sexual abuse and physical abuse, but did not do anything to tell her about the compensation that was available to her. They didn't protect her legal rights, and they failed her in that respect.
Why go after the province here as opposed to going after, say, the families or the people who actually did the abuse?
That's a good question, because it's the province who sets the policies and procedures that are followed by CASs, Children's Aid Societies across the country. And it's the CASs across the country to whom these children are reporting the abuse to. They have the contact with the children, and you have the centralized authority who is mandating policy. So the allegation is that there was a systemic failure across the province at the very top. And instead of going after every single parent or every single CAS, we have this one breach that we can attack.
What have you heard from other people? Like, you've got 2 people involved with this lawsuit so far. Are there going to be more?
Well, one of the reasons why we're trying to get the word out about this lawsuit, that we're trying to get in touch with as many survivors as possible. We anticipate that there are tens of thousands of Crown wards or former Crown wards across the province. And we're trying to get in touch with them. We're trying to get them to reach out to us so we can find out how this was happening, what their stories were, in order to find out exactly the mechanisms and the failures of the province.
This is still a kind of a work in progress, if you will. The class action lawsuit hasn't been filed yet. So what needs to happen before it's actually filed and goes to court?
Well, we have filed the lawsuit and we've served it on the province of Ontario. Typically, the next step would be to ask the court to approve the case to go forward as a class action. And we're working towards that stage.
What do you need for that to happen?
Well, typically we build up evidence and we submit evidence to the court about people who have experienced the harm that we allege, which is why we're trying to reach out to class members across the country, I should say across the province, in order to build our story and gather evidence.
Okay. Garth, do you want to thank you for your time this afternoon?
Thank you very much.
Garth Myers is an associate with Koskie Minsky, a law firm out of Toronto, and they are looking for people to get involved with the class action lawsuit. If you, by chance, wanted more information on this, you can go to their website. It is kmlaw.ca. Again, kmlaw.ca. And of course, if you want to comment on the idea of filing a class action lawsuit on this, your thoughts are welcome on the talkback line. The number is 1-800-461-1138.